on Looney. And Looney, I know, was pretty upset when that punch happened. And Looney was one of the guys who spoke about Draymond losing that trust. Milwaukee brothers. Andrew Wiggins, though, stepped away from the team for 2 months. And Wiggins and Poole were tight, really tight. How's Wiggins feeling now? Because now he's coming back in, and nobody's even talking about him. I think he's a big X factor for this team if they want to get back to a championship, to play 70-plus games as a two-way player. Where do you think Wiggins is at? And it's tough to assume because once he goes away, he goes away. You don't hear from him. Yeah, but I wonder how he's feeling. Don't you kind of think about Andrew Wiggins because he feels like the forgotten man in this whole equation?
To me, Wiggins is just easy. He's just easy to fill in his role. He's easy to go with the flow. I don't think Wiggins is really going to be overly opinionated about this whole Jordan Poole thing. I think, Wiggs got paid. I think he's happy and content. I don't think he has a lot of room to maybe voice his opinion after that hiatus. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I wouldn't expect it. I'd expect to see Wiggins to get into town literally the day before training camp opens, and he'll be a loyal soldier. And who knows what happens if he doesn't miss all that time last year? Because the Warriors were 6 seed?
6 seed, yep.
They could be closer to a 4 seed, maybe, different matchup. He was clearly rusty when he came back. Yep. Got hurt his ribs. So a lot of things just didn't go right for them last year.
How do they avoid, because it sounds like this is what we do, and y'all do your own thing. That's what it feels like, right? And I get on some level, like, people that have earned equity deserve different treatment. But how do they avoid that with someone like Chris Paul now coming into the scene? How do they avoid this whole push and pull of, I like to start, I want to be a start? Because just his reaction to that, I don't know, I thought it was very telling. How do they avoid the pitfalls of these personalities and these egos clashing again?
That's something that could go left really quick. So I think it's really important for the Warriors to get out to a good start next year. And I'm going to assume that he's coming off the bench. Just from a makeup of the team, it makes most sense.
Right.
But I'm also interested to know if they've had that conversation. Now, who knows with what he said when he was asked and pushed about coming off the bench. And is he willing? He kind of said it hasn't been talked about yet. I don't know if I believe that.
You don't believe that?
You coach him?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
First impression for Chris Paul. Not a good one,
I felt bad for the whole
Kendra
situation.
Andrews.
And then
Madeline Kinney did a great job of following
right back
up.
in and asked him about you've never not started. I thought it was really good journalism at that point.
I do too. And he even pushed back on me with a question I asked, and in my head, I'm thinking, what was so hard to understand?
Well, you asked. What was your question? Asked about the relationship evolving.
How's your relationship evolved with Draymond, Steph, and Clay over the years? And
it's a great question.
He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, you guys have been heated rivals.
Yes.
And from a basketball context, it seemed like guys haven't really liked each other.
Yeah.
Now you're teammates.
Yeah.
How's the? And he answered it and gave a great soundbite after that. But it's almost like he's testing you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I just asked you the same thing. I just worded it a little differently.
Yeah.
There's no way you didn't understand the first time.
Which is a fair question.
Very fair.
Considering they were all basketball enemies for a long time. I'm saying that in air quotes.
Jason Dumas, Cron 4, live in studio. He's doing a great job here in the Bay Area, covering all teams in the Bay Area. One-on-one sit-downs. Had a great sit-down with Corey Joseph. Was out there in Vegas for Summer League. And, I saw he got testy with Anthony Slater. Slater was talking about X's and O's. He's like, oh, man, it's not that deep. It's not brain surgery or whatnot. So he gave Marcus Thompson a short answer.
Yep.
So we got to be on our game when it comes to Chris Paul, right?
Well, absolutely. He's going to make you step it up. So it'll be interesting, because like you said, the whole dynamic. Some guys have the equity, Shasky, and get treated a little different. Like, it's obvious. This is not breaking news. Clay has a long rope. Clay has a longer rope than a lot of the guys. Steph has a long rope, but Steph doesn't use the rope.
Right.
Steph is a company guy.
How long is Draymond's rope? Yeah. Well, you got the new deal, right?
Yeah. So it's like, who knows? Kevin Durant said without saying that he didn't fit in with that, and he could tell he's a little different. We'll see how Chris Paul feels. Jordan Poole now was the same kind of way. Like, I don't get treated like the rest of the guys. So it'll be interesting. And I'll tell you this, Chris Paul, Jordan Poole, a lot of stuff behind scenes, huffing and puffing. Chris Paul will make it known. He'll make the room uncomfortable if he's not happy. He's not the passive-aggressive type.
What do you mean by Jordan Poole huffing and puffing behind the scenes?
Oh, it was just clear that Jordan wanted a different role, but he wouldn't come out in the media. He wouldn't come to his press conference and say, I should be starring, I should be this. Other ways he would show it. Chris Paul will come out and say it, right? That's what I'm saying. Where he will be direct.
Yeah.
Well, you were in that locker room after Game 4 against the LA Lakers where Jordan Poole, what did he play, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Didn't play at all. And what was he doing in the locker room? Kerr had to report. You talked about it. Where he basically was like, I'm not Vinny Microwave Johnson.
Right.
I'm not Vinny Microwave Johnson. The people made a big deal. Oh, my God, Jordan Poole's upset. Well, I would be upset, too. 1, you lost a playoff game. 2, you didn't play well. And 3, you really didn't have the coach trust you in a big-time playoff game after you helped them win the championship the season before. So that helped for the Puffin Shasky. It was on full display in Game 4. Everything came to a head.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say huffing and puffing. Things like that, where he's not going to come out directly and say it, but Chris Paul will. If Chris Paul is not happy, he's going to let people know about it. So it's interesting. I don't think there's a big room for error with CP3.
What do you mean by that?
I think if they don't get this thing right in the beginning,
boom, out.
It's not going to be the greatest situation.
Well, I keep thinking about it from his perspective, right? This is a guy who feels, in his mind, he feels he's on either the level or higher than Clay and Dre. I don't know about Steph, right? And I'm sure he's got his own feelings about Steph that are very mixed. So, him saying I'm the one that's going to go to the bench while he's got a contract extension in his own mind, whether he's at the end of the road or not, he's thinking I got another payday.
He said he's not even close to done playing.
That's my point. So why would I concede to you that I'm not viewed as a starter and limit the amount of potential income that I can make moving forward? And everyone's like, well, because look at where you at in your career. He's not ready to give that mantle up. It's like your dad in the backyard. I'm not ready to lose one-on-one to my kid yet. And that's the way I think Chris Paul's viewing it. And I think we're kind of... This is the ego that got him to where he is, which makes him so great. I think we're underselling how important that is for him to be a great player.
Yeah, so if he comes off the bench, it's going to be important for the Warriors to get off to a good start.
Yeah.
Because if he's coming off the bench and the Warriors, they start and they're 8-12, just throwing out an arbitrary number, he might be like, look, bro, I tried it.
Right.
What we got to switch something up.
I think the biggest key is, that's a great point, but who finishes in the final 5 minutes?
Yeah.
That's the one that's going to get me, because if they lose a close game, and if Chris Paul's on the bench during those moments, or if it's Clay, or if it's Draymond, or if it's Wiggins or Looney, that's where things I think could blow up. I'm not finishing the game. Let me close the games. I'm a closer. That, I think, is that's getting swept under the rug way too much. I know we get caught about who starts and, who comes off the bench at the beginning of the game, and that is a big deal for these players. I'm not going to dismiss that. But who finishes the games in the last 5 minutes? And if they start off 8-12 and Paul's not finishing, then he's going to throw a big stink and say, "Get me the hell out of here."
Absolutely, and he is a true man of his word. He says exactly what's on his mind. We already saw it on display in that first presser. So it'll be interesting. It's important for the Warriors to get off to a good start. And if he does come off the bench and they're playing well, I think the Warriors are going to they'll be going all in on the PR front. Chris Paul, 6th man of the year.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have to do the fluff that ego. They have to make Chris Paul feel like he has a role and that he's important.
He has to be. Yeah, he's very important. They have to nurture that part of him.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think, too?
I agree with
Steve
that.
Kerr, Andy Liu from Light Years Podcast had a great tweet yesterday, and I didn't even think about it like this. But with Kevin Durant, obviously, Steve Kerr and the Warriors organization had to massage a lot of egos.
Oh, yeah.
They had a lot of egos here. Iguodala had an ego, but he was coming off the bench playing 20 minutes a game.
He didn't want to.
He didn't want to originally. Steve Kerr may be the right guy for this job, to massage these egos. That's where, you could question the X's and O's. You could question some of his rotations. But in terms of managing the egos in that locker room, I don't know how many guys can do this job other than Steve Kerr.
Yeah, that's Steve Kerr's. I know the tweet you're talking about because I found that very interesting too. Steve Kerr's great at that whole. But here's the thing, though, just to play his devil's advocate.
Right.
He didn't really manage Jordan Poole's ego.
No.
And Kevin Durant, this is not source reporting from what I saw. I don't think Kevin Durant loved Steve Kerr.
No.
At all.
No doubt.
Did not. So
At all.
he
I think philosophically they had basketball
Right.
differences.
Yeah.
Well,
Across
remember the
board.
Indiana game when they
Across
lost
the
to
board.
Indiana? Steve Kerr said, "I want us to play with more anger, more force." And Kevin Durant got
What
asked,
does that mean?
He goes, "Yeah, well, I thought we were supposed to play with joy." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, here we go with KT." I mean, what's great,
Yeah.
but